Hello fellas, I am Mr. Mini Microbe, and while I've been editing this video, Paladins has been doing Paladins things, but we don't care about that. Let's talk about talents. Talents have been around for a very long time now, and most of them are pretty uniform, but every now and then you get one that just shakes up the mold a little bit. Or at the very least just makes you shake your head and go, what the hell were they even thinking? In this video, I would like to replicate that feeling with every single character in the game. Is it supposed to be balanced? No. Is it even supposed to make sense? Not really. My only real rule is that the new talents should still feel kinda realistic, instead of just, oh, Maeve has Kinessa's sniper rifle now. But at the same time, I will have no hesitation in throwing that rule in the garbage because I think it's funny. So yeah, I think you get the vibes by now. This is going to be a relatively casual video. These are going to be in no particular order aside from just the order I thought them up in and wrote them down, so meme talents. Let's do it.
Okay, for Makoa, I don't know why this one was my first one that I thought of. It's not really like... Okay, well, you know those melee attacks from his ult? I was just thinking one day at work, like, what if those were just his alternate fire? This was kind of before I decided to make this video at all. I was just having a little thought process. If he just had his ultimate anchor swing the whole time, would he be better? Would he be worse? So screw it, I guess that's his new talent. This one sucks. So yeah, his primary will remain the same. His alternate fire will turn into that little swingy hammer thing there. No cooldown, just as you see in the ultimate. Because of that, Makoa can choose between a lower DPS ranged attack or getting closer for a higher DPS sort of AoE melee attack. But of course, no more hook. So what do we do with the hook? We give it to his ultimate, of course. Dumbass. So I guess in his ultimate form, he's just kind of flinging the hook around. I don't want that to have much of a cooldown either. If it does, just like 1 second. But aside from that, I just wanted to be hucking that thing out. That's the talent. This is dumbass. This stupid fucking start. I didn't even know I was doing this video at that point, so. Next one for Maeve. Keep in mind, I wrote this just before Artful Dodger made its grand return. You'll see why that's prevalent to mention in just a few seconds here. This is what got me thinking about the whole idea of the video to begin with. So what do I have for Maeve here? Way back in the day, Maeve had this really stupid talent that just gave her another jump. Like, that was it. That came out back when talents were first introduced, or I guess legendary cards as they were called at the time. Like, with all this crazy ass stuff that was introduced, like Drogoz dealing, what is it, 50% extra damage on direct hit. Buck got a whole ass, like, extra jump, for God's sake. Bomb King's Poppy Bomb sent him out like 60% further. Even Maeve herself had this legendary card that caused her Q to completely ignore any form of CC. Like, she could just use it to get out of stuns and stuff like that. Meanwhile, also, she had a talent that just gave her an extra jump. It was my favorite, but nobody used it except for me. Bring it back, but give it like 5 extra jumps. And if they have any balls, give her like 9, because cat. I'm normally not going to be doing this whole bringing back old stuff that I just want back in the game, but this is definitely not going to be the first time you're going to see something like that. So I'm going to try not to, but I definitely will. Something stupid I always thought would be awesome for a raised kit. Her ult when locking onto an ally almost fully heals him, right? Let's accentuate that idea. With this new talent, if she links to an enemy and ults, they fucking die. Executes generally aren't something very fun to deal with, but I don't care. I think it'd be awesome. But you know, talents that also buff only the ultimate are normally pretty shit. So let's just make it a little more absurd, a little more interesting, a little more unhinged. It's the whole deal of what I'm trying to do here. Let's do it. Just like when doing it to allies, the target gets like 2 seconds of intangibility, but in turn also becomes a Skye bomb and will just nuke everyone after the 2 seconds end. So basically, Kasumi's ult if she was actually any fun. Oh, and speaking of nukes, I want to turn Octavia's ult into a nuke. That's it. Like, she has a bunch of unique passive buffs and stuff that I can mess with, but f that, I want a nuke. You know the captain from Risk of Rain 2? He's got like an actual nuke-esque ability that's on like a 30-second cooldown. Just imagine that, I guess. Octavia slaps down her ult. The ult takes like a full 10 seconds or whatever to come out. But you know, the actual initial circle that comes up before the big beam comes down? Make it so that circle covers like half the fucking map, and if you get hit, you just kind of die. Yeah, sure, you can DR through it, I guess, if you have that kind of ability, but all your teammates who can't will run away and not be present, so you kind of gotta run away. It would be easy to avoid, so it would probably be bad, but you see, it's really big. Anyway, moving on. Okay, well, I was gonna preface this next section with the fact that Skye has always been ass, but apparently she's actually not doing that bad these days. Or at least she's not as bad as she used to be. But especially when she was absolute dog for pretty much her entire existence, I always used to wonder what could be done to make her decent without killing her role as the stealth character. My clearly balanced solution? Make her always invis. This is just her now. I don't know, I kind of think it'd be awesome. And there's no Illuminate. Where's your Illuminate now, Putita? I've always thought that Lillith, ever since her release, was one of the most recycled characters on release, at least ability-wise. Like a basic healing alt fire, which is just kind of Genos's but enhanced. A basic healing first ability that's just like Maldamba's but enhanced. A basic movement ability that's just like, well, a lot of champions' movement abilities but enhanced. I'm no doubt being a bit too harsh. I like her, but I'm sure most people would admit the only thing keeping her unique is that all her abilities are tied to this blood mechanic, with each ability using using, of course, her health as a resource instead of just being a normal ass cooldown. I don't know though, for Lillith, I think that's a bit too unique. Let's change that. With this new talent, her abilities all now act as normal cooldowns, which much more accurately reflects her recycled nature. What'll be the length of her cooldowns and how will this affect her health? I don't fucking care. For Buck, I have 4 words. Bring back Tank Buck. My guy was one of the most unique flanks for the single fact that he had more health than some front lines. I mean, it was probably just Barrack, I'll be real, but like, still. Now, when Buck was tanky, did he slow things down and probably make things less fun to play overall? Yeah, probably. Bring his health back up and bring his damage back down. Nostalgia. Maybe don't give him back his second charge of Heroic Leap, though. That one didn't work out so well. So for some reason, everyone out there seems to think that Yagorath's whole deal is just being tanky and sitting on the point and doing nothing. Meanwhile, if you ever actually played her, I haven't. You'd know that that's pretty much anything but the case. Let's make that the case. Give her like 100,000 health or something, but she can only start moving and stop moving once. What if you need to chase the payload? You should have thought that earlier. Put her on the payload so it'd move with it. Wait, that doesn't work on Siege. Oh well, fuck. I don't know. Make it so that if Yagorath types in the Konami code, she fucking dies. Sounds pretty legit to me. I never liked how for Kinessa, a while ago, they made her normal scope even more zoomed in, kind of to give more difference between Kinessa and Strix, I guess. Editing notes since then, they have messed with it a bit, but still, I don't like it. My idea is make her scope not a scope. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. That's it. Drogoz has an ability untouched by his already existing talents, that ability being his salvo. They've tried to make talents based on this ability previously with quite minimal success, so let me take a crack at it. It couldn't be that hard, right? His new talent affects his salvo. He has the usual salvo windup, then deal all the damage that would normally be dealt with all 6 of his barrage in one single shot. Would that finally break in a salvo talent into actually being good? Probably not. Still sounds kind of ass, but hear me out. You can also rocket jump with it. That way, even if nobody would use it for actually being good, people would still use it because it's fucking fun. For a completely whack-ass idea for Inara, you know she like throws her spear for her ultimate and stuff, and whether she hits something or misses something, it just kind of appears back in her hand like magic. That's stupid. That doesn't make any sense. It's illogical. Let's change that. For this talent, when thrown, the staff stays in the surface that it hits. It still stuns, but it also creates this like circle of effect, the same diameter as the stun would normally be, and in that area is a personal damage buff for Inara. But she has no weapon now. What's she gonna do? Well, you see, basically, Inara has to square the fuck up. Just slap like the 1-2 punch animation from fucking Nyx. Just slap it onto Inara. It'll be alright. Got this like rock giant punching you in the knock and it'd be sick. Now the staff could stay in the ground as long as she wants, but she could also pick it up whenever she wants. Now I just think this would be funny. Ultimate talents are never good though, and you and I both know this is stupid. So I came up with another idea if you're not satisfied with that one. So yeah, think about it. What's Inara's biggest problem that demands addressing? It's like it's the... Wrong. It's staggering. You ever played Inara having a great old time and your team gets wiped and you think to yourself, great heavens, it appears my team has fallen. I suppose I must die so that I may reconvene with my team, so we may continue our siege as an organized and coordinated team post-haste. But then the enemy decides to go all tryhard and won't kill you. The solution? With this new talent, if you place a wall under your feet, you fucking die. This problem is no more. There you go. 2 unhinged ones to choose from instead of just 1 mildly unhinged one. Inara mains are eating good tonight. 7's talents kind of already deal with all his appropriate general use abilities, even his primary, oddly enough, which leaves only his alternate fire as the obvious contender to tamper with. Trigger Discipline, which is an incredibly stupid name, by the way, for his weapon swap ability. My proposal is, do the quality of life thing that literally everyone has been asking for since the dawn of his existence. You know, stay on the weapon mode that you died on once you respawn, tapping the ability twice or just like holding it down will swap backwards in the rotation. Do the quality of life shit that people have always wanted, but render it only usable on this new talent and not his actual kit. That's the whole talent. Why? Because it's evil. I just really want to know how many people would actually use it just for the fact that it'd make things convenient, as opposed to actually picking a viable talent. I honestly bet it'd be pretty damn well used, but I want to know. That's it. Now for Androxus, if you want to be boring, you can just give him his old right click. It can be kind of cool, but for this kind of video, it'd also be boring as shit. So instead of giving his gun a new ability, we're going to take something away. His gun. We're just the whole thing. We're going to take it away. His alternate fire is now his primary fire. Meanwhile, his alternate fire is still his alternate fire. You see, he has to square up too. Does the punch have a cooldown in the actual game right now? Well, if it does, just get rid of it. I want to see him just like dashing around and beating the shit out of people. It'd be quite funny. So Moji is a healer and has always been a healer, as we all know. So I had this really novel idea. Just like how she heals people now, I think she should be able to do that to enemies. You know, where she does more damage based on how little or full that star meter is. And I don't know, I think this new way would really be unique and enjoyable and not frustrating at all. Oh, okay, the talent kind of already does the... Okay, we'll come back to Moji then. Okay, full disclosure, I had no idea this talent existed before writing this shit. I'll think of something later. I'll come back to Moji, don't worry. Okay, and then Dredge. I hate Dredge. I've always kind of design-wise thought he's just kind of a blast Lian, and nobody seems to understand my Dredge-induced trauma. My well thought out points. So to shove in everyone's faces that he's a poorly designed knockoff that shouldn't exist demonstrate this mildly copied but well-meaning character's missed potential, Dredge is now a hit scan champion. His primary explodes wherever he's pointing, his alternate fire just immediately explodes everywhere because it's fucking Dredge's alternate fire, and his Q is now just a hit scan 800 damage shot after a short delay. Is it all broken? Yeah. Yeah, I think so. This way, everyone will finally hate him as much as I do. I am shameless when it comes to hating this man, and I will take cheap shots at this guy for as long as I make Paladins content. Look forward to it. Okay, for Lian, I see two clear directions here. Everyone has always seemed to complain that she is one of the most patented auto-aim, no-skill characters, so exaggerating one side of that argument, I guess. One thing we could do for her new talent is make her alternate fire, which is pretty much the only actual auto-aim thing in her kit aside from her dash, just make it into a normal-ass shot, as well as, I guess, take away the shot on her mobility, but that is boring. That's super boring. So the other option is the better one. That is half her damage and make everything auto-aim. I'm sure that couldn't go poorly. Make OG Kasumi. But again, maybe that way people who don't play Leon's claims will actually finally make some damn sense. Full disclosure, I don't actually know if people still complain about Lian for being auto-aim. That was mostly just a big thing when she first came out, and it's one of the big things I still associate with her. Anyway, moving on to Nyx's primary, is never touched with any of her talents, similar to a lot of other champions. And one of Nyx's main appeals, at least on release, was that she was this patented mommy, you know, your words, not mine, the mommy of Paladins, alright? You know, real look both ways before crossing the road type character. And let me ask you, what's the primary factor of being a mother? Children. So I'm gonna switch it up a bit to be a bit more concordant with that community perceived idea. That's right, I'm bringing in what everybody wanted. For her new talent, Nyx wields a baby. But what's this? She's an independent woman. She doesn't want that shit. Yeet that motherfucker. Congratulations, that's her new primary. Differing from her default primary because it's actually ranged and the baby's explode, I guess. I'm sorry, this one's kind of ass. Baby Hooker 9000, that's the name of the talent. I'm gonna put this one behind me as fast as I can. I'm just gonna keep, let's keep going. For Barrack, you know back in the day when you were killed by a turret and you watched like the kill feed, back when that existed, you'd be seeing your death from the turret's perspective. I don't think I'll be able to find footage for that, so you'll just have to take my word for it. Well, for some weird ass reason, that perspective always made me want to be that, you know? So after Barrack dies, he becomes his turret, specifically any of the turrets he's already placed down, whether that be the little ones or the big flame turrets that his ultimate puts down. They can also waddle around like the turrets in, again, Risk of Rain 2. Bonus points if they're fast as fucking annoying as shit. Alright, Cassie. Cassie's talents are pretty uniform across all of her abilities, and once or twice they've already made talents that buff her primary, so I'm not going to touch any of that. Like, if you want to make any veteran Paladins players shudder, just mention the two faded words of just breathe. But yeah, her ultimate in essence has never changed since her inception, so we're going to do a little bit of expounding upon what it already does. Expounding? Is that a word? You ever using your ultimate and you've seen a dude behind a wall and just think to yourself, man, I gotta go around that bitch? Let's change that. Using her ultimate, you may now no clip. I also think it'd be funny if they didn't change any collision at all, so you'd literally be having to do it at your own risk, as you could just fall to your death at any moment because you're being stupid. And definitely not because this is a stupid idea to begin with. Tiberius, I always viewed as the start of a trend where damage characters stopped walking the line between flank and damage, kinda. Like beforehand, the main attributes that made damage and flanks distinct were a bit more crisscrossed. Most damages were more generalists, but having more than enough maneuverability abilities to act similar to flanks, as well as just damage. Meanwhile, some flanks did also, you know, just fine as filling in as a pseudo damage in their own right. The roles were varied and it was fun. And in my opinion, Tiberius kind of started this trend of damage characters feeling like their existence centered around their primaries and nothing else, with that design choice just ending up with their damage numbers being really absurdly high to compensate for the lack of mobility. Tiberius himself has movement that feels extremely clunky and slow. Okay, it was recently buffed, but you get what I mean. And then his entire game plan just kind of centers on getting his Q up as much as possible, aka his combat stance, which just makes his primary feel pretty absurd to go up against. Let's accentuate that. His primary is now constantly in a state of combat stance. His damage now feels absurd all the time, but he's going to feel even more clunky because he can't use any of his other abilities at all. That's it. I'm gonna call this talent Vivian. Just Vivian. Okay, Imani. New elements type shit. Just like air. Doesn't really do anything, and it replaces her fire. So it still has the massive windup, and then it just goes with like the fart reverb MP3, and it just like doesn't do anything but knock people away. Her right click could also like knock people around a bit in like this beam of air, but she could also like shoot it into the ground and fly around like the fucking paralyzer in COD Zombies. Out of any of these whack-ass talents that I'm making, just making a new element for Imani to mess around with honestly just sounds the most fun. And to be honest, I'm actually quite surprised they haven't done anything like that yet. Anyway, Pip. I know he already has the talent for his right click, but screw that. His right click is really freaking boring. Make it so it shoots a chicken. It could hit the dude like bonk and then run around and start chomping on people. I think it'd be funny. Also, it unfurries him. For Caspian, just make him have 2 swords. It'd be awesome. I know this one's kind of similar to Androxus where they both have like 2 melee weapons, but just think about how much damage you could do if they got like both swords to do the stabby, stabby, stabby at the same time. It'd be kind of sick. I don't know. The sword part of Caspian has always been my favorite part, so just give me more of that. Is it so much to ask to just give me more of that? I don't think it is. Ever since I started playing the game back in 2016, I can never really figure out how to play Ying specifically because of her teleport. It always just seems so sporadic. Like I learned all of its tricks, but it still just felt so jarring and unintuitive every time I tried. So let's go ahead and make it a little less so alongside making it stupid. Whenever you look at someone and then teleport, you teleport behind them. You could do this to your allies to be a bitch, to your clones so you still have some control about where you go, and of course to your enemies because old memes. I don't know what the f Ying's gonna be able to do back there, but I'm not meant to worry about that here. These ideas are meant for small jolts of goofiness without any real consideration to how annoying or tiresome these talents could be long term. So with that being said, bonus points if you play the Nani or whatever it is every time she teleports for maximum obnoxity. Obnoxity? Is that a word? For Lex, I wanted to hit his targeting passive / retribution skill thing, since that's pretty much the only thing keeping him kinda unique. But yeah, all that really does currently in the game is reveal people through walls. That's it. Let's emphasize that. Make him reveal everyone and way more than is necessary to an absolutely absurd amount. Like their player, their exact amount of health with the health bar, all their cooldowns, whether they have their ult or not, the champion, even though you can clearly see them, the champion's height, the ability that they're currently using, their exact coordinates, dietary restrictions, their social security number, their relationship status, literally just anything you could possibly think of until your screen is just a random assortment of moving text. It's coming off of every single character, and the text is constantly meshing with everyone else's, so it's super distracting. But yeah, if you want the constant Cassiel, you just gotta put up with it, man. It's just the way of the road. I don't make the rules. Now, Atlas already has time abilities, so naturally, what's the opposite of going back in time? Going forward in time. So yeah, I guess you could just kind of make his normal mobility ability an ability that goes like straight forward to kind of try to expect where you're gonna go, but that's lame as shit. So let's make it so this F speeds up the entire state of the game, actually. Like, is the point taking a little bit too long to cap? Just hit F and speed up that shit. The payload taking a bit too long? Hyperdrive that thing for a second or two. Your dad not coming back? Pop ahead a few hours to come to the conclusion faster that he is not. For those few seconds, it could also like speed him up a tiny bit too, make him a little bit faster, and speed up his animations a little bit so he looks goofy. So I've had the displeasure of playing the game through several points in time when Xin was quite a meta character, and something that made him really frustrating to go up against in one of those times specifically was that he had 2 now long removed cards, allowing him to alter the amount of time his counter and billow could be up for respectively. Every Xin would have them set to different amounts every game. In other words, muscle memory could just never be developed when trying to punish either the abilities with a burst of damage or whatever, like you do with any other stalling ability in the game. I doubt that's actually what technically made him good at the time, but it did cement him in my head as just one of the most inconsistent and just plain annoying characters to fight against in the entire game, so naturally, let's bring that shit back. With his new talent, the length of his counter or billow are completely random, ranging from, I don't know, either ability lasting maybe 10 seconds to like 1, maybe somewhere in between there. That way I guess you could win the lottery, get your billow up for like 10 seconds and run away for as long as you want, or you could get it out for 1 second and that'd be that. At least this way, maybe, just maybe the frustration will be somewhat mutual. For Sati, I've always liked the idea of hitting people with their coin, because if you didn't know, if you hit someone with the actual coin instead of shooting it for some reason, it deals 100 damage, and even an extra 100 sometimes for some reason. Very impactful. But yeah, we're bumping that shit up. Our coin now becomes super sharp or something because it now deals like 700 damage. And I mean, since it's tied to our pips and not our actual cooldown, she can really spam that shit at close range, alongside that occasional double damage glitch thing that seems to happen if the coin hits the ground immediately after hitting an enemy. Not to mention you can try shooting the coin after it goes through someone, I guess. I don't know how practical any of that could be. It would definitely have a lot of interesting tech, which I'm always a fan of. I'm getting dangerously close to actually being a genuine fan of this one, so I think we should move on. For Talus, I don't think there's any talents affecting his right click, this little punch here, so I'm gonna do something fairly basic with this one. His punch just kind of keeps going, and you can't cancel it or anything, it just doesn't stop. I don't want to make it so his punch's damage gets like incrementally higher the longer he does it, because that's kind of boring, unreactably one-shotting you if he starts far away, but the knockback will scale. Therefore, the longer he flies, the longer you will as well. When it comes to Torvald, like, is this even a question? Bring back the auto-aim. Bring back the massive amounts of shielding. It used to be just so much shielding as compared to how it is now. Like, it's probably been adjusted a lot at this point, probably to have more shield than what I actually remember now, but regardless, replace like all of his health with shield. Maybe have like one little bit of genuine health. Also make it so that his like F ability, the recharge, doesn't have an end to it. It doesn't last a certain amount. You could just do it forever to recharge your entire health as long as the cooldown is online. Make it so you pretty much need to get Wrecker against this character or else you're cooked. And once you actually get Wrecker, he's cooked. It better be volatile as hell. I also think it'd be funny just because whenever he'd be low on shield, if his recharge speed didn't scale, which I don't think it should, it'd just go and go and go, and I just think that'd be funny. Okie dokie. That's like all the talents that came naturally over time. Let's take a look at how many we got left. That's a little bit better than I expected, actually. I think I mostly hit damages or tanks. I'm seeing a lot of healers, so I guess I'll just keep going as I do for as long as I can until I run into any champions that I just can't think of anything for, so let's get it. I feel like for Terminus, in the very, very little I've played of him, I've always wanted to use his right-click Calamity Blast more than his actual primary. It's just a fun move, but again, in my very little use of him, seeing as he seems to get a lot of reward from keeping his Calamity Blasts fully charged and not using them at all, I weirdly feel like the actual projectile part of this move doesn't really get much attention. I mean, the already existent talent for his right click has had negligible changes ever since Terminus was introduced. So I said to say, this new talent will be about that. Just remove the charging cap. He can now charge forever. I like shooting his fully charged right click, and I want the opportunity to shoot it more. For Strix, I initially had some trouble coming up with what to change. His primary, or at least how it's operated, has been messed with plenty. All of his abilities are covered with his current talents, not to mention previous ones. In fact, in my experience, he might be the single champion to have the most balancing changes to his talents in the entire game, from what I recall. But then I remembered his ultimate. I'm pretty sure this thing has functionally never been changed. So I thought I'd take a cue from his Q. For his ultimate, have him be able to switch through a few differing grenade/bomb types. Like let him keep his normal flashbang, maybe throw in a smoke grenade, acting like a large version of Skye's smoke bomb or something, being able to stealth himself and allies in the smoke, and even just a normal big grenade like Victor's with a larger radius and a bit more damage. Just give his ultimate more interesting things to do other than just this unique CC. Bonus points if the differing grenades charge independently, similar to like Amani's 2 right clicks having independent cooldowns. This talent is less so a meme and more just something that sounds kind of cool to mess around with. Just give him more grenades. We only have like 2 grenades in the entire game, and one's a normal ass grenade and one's annoying as shit to deal with. I want more. Let me know if there's any other cool generic grenade ideas that we can throw in this ultimate as well. Community engagement. All right, next up we got a little thing I like to call girlfriend help time. We got Skye here for the next few because I need help. So the next some odd talents will be a culmination of both of our efforts because I am getting tired. Maldamba. Wakono's curse used to be an old damage talent of his, allowing you to activate his alternate fire onto enemies and damage them in the exact same way you'd heal an ally. It was kind of awesome. It was added in a pinch, but also nearly just as quickly removed. So yeah, it's back. But I want to make it a little more interesting. I want to just turn Damba into a damage character, or maybe a flank. I don't fucking care. Damba's little slither here I think has literally never been changed. Someone fact check me on that. I want to mess with that too. Our dumbass idea was, alongside the right click damage, give him more uses of his slither, just like Androxus' nether step. Let him really zip around and play with his movement. And if you pass through enemies, you put some kind of poison on him, which I've realized a decent while later is actually quite a lot like this other talent that he had once upon a time. Definitely not beating the talent rehashing allegations. However, you can also slither up walls. Awesome. Sick. Okay, in all honesty, this talent was just an excuse to talk about Wakono's curse, because it was legit one of the coolest talents that they just ended up getting rid of in favor of the more boring damage talent that he now has, in our opinion. Tyra's design is already kind of batshit, which I've always loved. She has no mobility, no way to get out of fights without just going full aggression mode and trying her best to kill the enemy before she dies, with her many damage or extra damage abilities. Like, I'm sorry, on paper, that's baller as fuck. Aside from that, she was the first of the, oh, look at me, I don't have a mobility kind of characters. But at this point, that's happened quite a lot. I am now cynical to that idea. Let's change that. Let the girl move a little bit. Her alternate fire can now be activated midair via a repeated use. The purpose of this being, it now applies substantial knockback to enemies and yourself. And I know what you're thinking, we basically made just another rocket jump talent, but I mean, Tyra double jump, come on. Am I right? Tell me I'm not right. I don't know, I think it'd be pretty fun, and I mean, come on, just let the girl schmooze for once in her damn life. For Io, I wanted to do something with her dog, but also I didn't want to do something with her dog because that shit sounds convoluted as hell. So instead, we settled on something quite satisfying, and I'm sure possibly even more complex. Her F ability actually leaps forward. That is it. Sha Lin, I've always despised his Q. That being said, I've always loved his right click. Let's make them one, because Sha Lin is kind of boring. No cap. Let's make it so his new Q activates like his alternate fire. You know, where some kind of effect goes around the arrow or something, and you can flick it on and off independent of the charge of your bow. But keeping with the usual theme of his Q, let's still keep it to be like a multi-arrow shot thing. Let's make it like a horizontal shotgun spread. You know what I'm talking about. You know the hit game crab champions that I just so happen to have a diamond rank in, no flexing here? You know the crossbow? If you didn't, you now know the crossbow. Make Sha Lin's Q do that, and the more you charge it, the tighter the spread. I don't want it to, at full charge, become super tight into basically a single damage arrow. I'm not brave enough to suggest that idea. I've been around where Sha Lin was at his best, and I am just fine with that not happening again. That being said, make it pierce, because AoE. Accentuate my favorite thing about the character while getting rid of the thing I despise. Sick. Kasumi has been changed way too much to where I don't even want to see or figure out how ever since I made that video on her, so okay, let's not touch any of her abilities. I would much rather stay ignorant. Her vibe, however, is immaculate. Death's Howl, Ghost of Vengeance type shit. Let's accentuate that. After she is killed, she takes control of her killer for like 2 or 3 seconds and has access to everything. Don't kill her next to a ledge,
or you're dead. Might as well use your abilities to kill her because she's going to be wasting every single one against you on your own team. And they can't even kill you because you're on their team. Wasting the killer's ultimate could be an issue, I suppose. But whatever, she can totally just waste your ult because it's funny and it's kind of hype. Okay, girlfriend help time is over. For now, you are simply stuck with me again. I noticed with her we tried to make talents that were more cool ideas rather than just straight up wacky. So in retrospect, maybe it'll revert back to normal now that it's just my own dumbass brain. One of my favorite abilities in general is Vora's Vine. Just a lot of fun to use. I wish she could use it more just to Spider-Man around. But I mean, she's already got a pretty conservative talent, giving her a second use of her tendril. I mean, I would have given her like 6 or 7, but that's just me. I mean,
This is my idea. What is this? Where the fuck did Spider-Man go?
it's in her base kit, apparently. I just found this out. I play Vora. How have I never noticed this? And what's more, I have never seen these two talents in my life.
That's crazy. I can't comprehend that. Okay, do me a massive favor here. Pretend this doesn't exist, all right? All right, thank you. I swear this happens every goddamn time.
She's already got a pretty conservative talent, giving her a second use of her tendril. I mean, I would have given her like 6 or 7, but that's just me. I mean, so making another of that type, just giving her more, would be kind of boring. But the other fun thing about the Vine that I feel like was never really touched on is that you can actually latch onto enemies with it too. Well, let's reward that. I don't know. Give her a bit of extra damage after she vines onto you. Promote a bit more of an aggressive Vora playstyle. That'd be fun. But that'd also be kind of boring and not quite as unhinged as I'd like. So instead, I'm going to combine everything, doing a little bit of what I like to call removing our primary projectile and making her purely a melee character aside from her Q. Thirding her Vine cooldown to like 4 seconds so she can just kind of spam it. Promoting vining on people by causing vined enemies to take more damage from you for like 2 seconds is a nice little ambush strategy. And also if you vine on people, your vine cooldown is completely reset. I never said it wouldn't be annoying, but it sure as hell would be fun. Now you might be thinking to yourself, hey, Mr. Mini Microbe, that's boring. Aren't you just making a bootleg version of your favorite Cassie playstyle? Yes. Moving on. Okay, this was the point where I asked my brother, who used to play Paladins and now does every year or so, to go ahead and think of one for fun. I've already made talents for all his mains, so he just kind of picked Vatu because I don't know, he played him once or twice and thought he was kind of cool. Now, if I'm asking someone to make an unhinged talent, I'm very prepared to take it at face value no matter what and just go with it. But you see, his ingenious idea was that instead of shooting his kunai forward, he shot vertically. So you'd have to stare at the ground to hit anything. That's it. So yeah, needless to say, we incorporated that into a better one. You know those on-rails kind of shooter, ship, pixely kind of games that I just so happen to have grown up on, specifically Demon Star. Crazy Mr. Mini Microbe lore drop there, by the way. You can get these power-ups that make you shoot backwards as well as forwards. Yeah, make it so Vatu now shoots backwards as well every time he shoots normally. Oh, what's that? You're asking me how you would ever take advantage of that? Oh, how silly of you. A reminder that this was his idea and I'm not affiliated with this. Vatu, of course, has a rear view mirror. I rest my case. This is not my idea. Okay, I'm gonna be so real here. Azan feels like one of the most uninteresting and uninspired characters in the entire game. Does anyone main this character? I'm actually curious. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm legitimately curious. And like, I'm saying that knowing full well he came out during a year chock-a-block with mildly rehashed characters. So like, what makes him even kind of unique? I really need anything here. And I found 2 things. His ire, kind of. Okay, yeah, it's something. Still a bit of a boring gimmick, but I couldn't think of a talent for it anyway. So his other thing that stands out is actually his ultimate. Kind of just because it's shit, but also pretty damn fun. Like, its damage is pitiful, it's super slow, but the movement on this thing is really fun and legit opens up tons of stuff that no other champion has access to. Not to mention a lot of stuff that I definitely don't think the developers intended. That being said, it's not really worth using the ult specifically for those movement options. You just don't have it enough for that. Meanwhile, the damage of it is so pathetic. He probably wouldn't even have an increase in DPS if he just straight up didn't use it. So, fuck it. That's his primary now. He has no normal way of pumping out damage aside from flying up, smashing himself down again, over and over again. I also think it'd be funny if they didn't change his actual ultimate, instead making it to where he could just cancel his normal primary version with his actual ultimate so he could just go up and then kind of just go up again. This is the most inspired talent I've made so far, don't lie. It is at least as inspired as Azan himself. BK, one of those weird feeling characters that I've technically played since the very beginning of the game, but also one of those characters that I've never played since the beginning of the game. You know what I mean? But yeah, what makes him unique to me is that he was the first mass AoE crowd control kind of character. And that being said, despite that, the only times he has been really good has always been either due to his damage or mobility, of all things, often hardly even focusing on the CC that he should technically be known for. So say it with me, let's change that. His mobility ability, or his F ability, I always have trouble figuring out what to call that, but okay, his Poppy Bomb is now a single shot of his primary, and his primary are now all Poppy Bombs. He is now almost completely CC, totally relying on his allies to do damage and just knocking people the fuck around. It would be terrible, but it'd be awesome. There should also be like a community clause to where if BK picks up this talent, the enemy is not allowed to pick resilience, because video games are fun him flying around everywhere, the enemy flying around everywhere, and massive bonus points if his allies are affected too. Ceres has always felt like an introductory character to healing, and by always I mean in the past and not at all anymore. On her release, she had no utility whatsoever, and her only real factor was that she could just pump out those heals, as well as heal herself a bit too. She was basically just a heal bot if you really think about it. Oppressive early game until cauterize, you know the drill by now. Anyways, nowadays she actually has utility. Ironically, like 4 things that used to be in old talents have now been incorporated into our base kit, making her almost more into some kind of weird utility damage champion. It's really weird. That being said, it was a bunch of cool stuff that was added into her base kit, and at least for the most part giving some much needed utility to her moveset. Let's change that back. Ceres is now a heal bot again. Say goodbye to stuns, extra health, and AoE healing, but say hello to no cooldown on our heal. And instead of lasting 1.5 seconds, you can now heal forever. When you're looking back, everything else seems so much better, and I'm nostalgic, what can I say? I miss the simplicity of an overwhelming healer that can't do shit endgame because anti-heal. Now, Eevee. Thinking about Ceres previously made me kind of recall one of the older big changes to projectiles is that they were made universally much faster. Think Cassie, the aforementioned Ceres, probably Drogoz if I recall correctly, but it was definitely most notable in my opinion with Eevee, as her primary was a very, very slow moving big projectile. That, although is still unique obviously, almost lost a bit of its character as it was suddenly made quite a bit faster and less weird than it used to be. So yeah, you know the drill, let's change that. Just make it slow, and by slow I mean like really slow. Every time you take a shot, that thing just kind of travels at a very leisurely pace. And make sure they don't disappear either. I want it to be a 3-dimensional bullet hell for the enemy team. Like she's just setting up all these little things and you just have to run in and try to contest the point while also dodging all these dumbass slow moving projectiles. Also maybe give it like a damage multiplier the longer it's out by like, I don't know, times 0.05 per second, like a bad ferocity Grover, just so people suddenly randomly drop dead occasionally, because I think that'd be funny. Fernando, the OG get behind me shield guy, been in the game since the very beginning, had several lackluster talents removed from the game, but we don't care about those because his definite and most obvious signature trait is his shield. I want to enhance it in some way, but I've realized it's kind of hard to come up with anything unhinged for shields without just doing something akin to Atlas's temporal divide talent, which by the way is an actual talent that exists in the game. Like the fact that somebody on the dev team at one point was as unhinged as I'm trying to be now, it's just such a comfort. So yeah, Fernando is an old, elegant, simple character deserving of an elegant, simple, wacky talent. His shield is now as big as temporal divide. The difference is, of course, he can still hold it, stand with it, spin around with it. Just imagine everyone else's perspective while he's spinning. It has a whole nother purpose entirely now, a discombobulation attack. For Omen, I couldn't be bothered. Maybe just like, you know his ult. Crazy on paper, right? You know, it would be absolutely insane. Just turn it sideways. Wouldn't that be crazy? Wouldn't that be insane? No, I wouldn't stand for it, frankly. It's just too unique. I wouldn't be able to deal with it. Back when Victor's talents were released, he had pretty uniform talents, all things considered. The main ones being like gain 20% bonus damage while using iron sights, and then another where you gain 40% extra damage while hip firing. The latter was one of my favorite talents in the game, in no small part because it was fucking insane, and then they got rid of it. Researching this video just brought back a long lost memory of that's why I stopped playing Victor. So I don't care, I'm bringing that shit back verbatim. That's right, I'm making fun of you. Like that's actually it. It was already so wacky compared to its counterpart, like 40% extra damage as opposed to 20. The amount you can end up hip firing as opposed to using iron sights was already not balanced. And then when you're rewarded on top of that by 40%, it was so much fun, dude. I don't even need to touch it because it's already so crazy that this was in the game to begin with. Something distinct I recall about Genos when he was released was that he was actually expected to be kind of like an off healer. Like this is their words, plus you can kind of tell from the design.
He is meant to be sort of a heal and forget, go have some fun shooting people kind of support. You could hang with your buddies and just, you know, if you want to go frag some noobs, just boom, time to go have some fun.
They really expected him to be sort of play like a healer version of Victor, I guess, doing damage, killing folks, and then occasionally healing through walls simply because it's convenient to then go ahead and fuck off and shoot more baddies. That was their direction apparently. Meanwhile, what actually happened was he was immediately one of the most prolific and consistent main healers ever made, and has been frequently cited during certain patch cycles as the most powerful healer in the entire game. So I don't know, let's reel him back to his original intended design, while also not completely destroying the identity that's accidentally been created for him. You know, his heals, maybe half the potency of that, maybe quarter it even. Crank the cooldown to like 30 seconds to a minute, but just make it so the heal never ends. Unless he dies, I guess, or they die or something. Get rid of his ability to heal through walls because screw that. And there you go. You got a character that'll slap a heal on someone, fuck off for like a minute, do whatever before unlocking a little side quest of coming back and putting a heal on another dude. We've had one or two characters designed to snowball in terms of damage, but we've never had a character that has potential to snowball with heals. This sounds awful. Betty, being the counterpart to Bomb King, the connection has always felt a little weak to me, to be honest. At least gameplay wise. She's always just kind of felt like a slightly more interesting and less annoying Dredge. That being said, you can still kind of outline the design similarities between BK and Betty's abilities. But like I said with BK, there is one area that he's all about that Betty basically doesn't touch at all. Where's the CC? Let's let's change that. For this talent, all her abilities will receive damage nerfs, but in turn they will receive differing forms of CC akin to Bomb King's abilities. Just like his Q, Betty's Q will stun. Anytime you get trapped by one of her little doot-doot-doots, it'll stun a little, and it will combo. Anytime she hits you with her little F explosion things, you are flying, just like with BK's. Now BK's alternate fire doesn't have anything to do with CC obviously, so with Betty's, again, its damage will be nerfed, but all of its multiplying explosions that could occur will all have completely random CC effects. It could be an already mentioned stun or knockback, but it could be a freeze, a fear, a blind, a cripple, a root, a silence, any random CC possible. Not to mention the stacking that could occur when the bomb multiplies based on how many it hits. Chaos. That is my end goal. Ash. Ash was initially designed to quote-unquote dominate the point with all her CC, just being an absolute menace, tossing and bopping people around the point. In actuality, it just becomes a bit of an inconvenience, making her presence on point not always so demanding. I don't know if that's actually true, that's just how I felt playing her sometimes. You know, really tickling them with your right click there, especially after they get resilience. And you know, I've randomly added a bunch of CC to characters already. That's getting a little bit dull, unless I decide to do it again, in which case it'd be awesome. But I think for Ash, I'm actually going to do the opposite. I want Ash to feel actually a little bit scarier on point like they intended, namely the previously mentioned alternate fire. I want that chunky rev up animation to actually mean something. Just give it a shit ton of damage with the massive AoE. So many of her moves feel like they should hit super hard and then just kind of knock you upwards and don't do much. So you know what? Fuck it. Damage buff her shoulder bash too. Make your alternate fire alongside the knockback do like 1,000 damage and give her shoulder bash like 1,500. Now when she charges up one of her heavily reactable moves, at least folks will kind of take it seriously unlike before. Like bruh, be afraid of Ash again, like people were for the first maybe 2 matches I played of her after she first came out. Initially for Vivian, I wanted to make a talent that was just a joke about making her an actual well-designed character, but there's a problem with that. That means I have to actually make a well-designed character. I don't have the facilities for that, big man. So okay, let's make her worse. Vivian is funny. Similar to like Tyra, I guess. They both have automatic stuff with no mobility, but Tyra's is all about aggression, which like I've said is kind of raw. Obviously, in actuality, doesn't always work that way. Vivian, meanwhile, is kind of like the little bitch version of that. No mobility still, but she has this big gun that she just wants to keep shooting. A massive magazine so she can just keep shooting. She has a reveal thing so she can more effectively keep shooting. She has this little aim to enhance and more accurately keep shooting. She has a shield to ensure that she can just keep shooting. And her ultimate literally just serves to make her keep shooting but better. She is so obnoxiously designed and probably one of my favorite characters in the entire game because she is so funny. This is expounded upon even more in my favorite of her cards, which are basically just gambling. Literally, they are percent chances for you not to consume ammo if you're either aiming or hitting someone. Therefore, you can get pretty cursed sequences like this, where you're blasting away at them with like 0 ammo left, and nothing is happening to the ammo count. I love these. It's so funny to me. This talent must have gambling in it, but also has to retain this please keep holding down left click mentality, because both of them are just equally hilarious to me. The result? Pretty simple actually. With her new talent, her normal shots have a 0.08 chance to instantly kill. This should roughly round out to, not including reloading because math is hard, an average of 1 instant kill every 3 minutes or so if the Vivian just shamelessly keeps shooting. Jet it up or down from there, I really do not care. As long as the enemy is playing Russian roulette with a really big revolver every time Vivian is on the opposing team, I'm a happy camper. Very, very simple one for Furia. I wanted to think of something cool, but like, I just thought of something that instead elicited this primal terror in my heart. Like when I first thought about it in my cooler at work, my reaction was an actual verbal, oh dear, oh great heavens type shit. Like, just take your massive stun beam and turn it sideways. Isn't that fucking terrifying? That's what we're gonna do. Like, damn it, dude, that sounds awful. At the same time, as soon as I thought about it, I knew I'd be doing a disservice if I did not make that her talent. Thus, here we are. Rom's right click is currently untalented. I really like this ability actually. It just feels good to rev it up and not use ammo for a little. It's just cool. Even though I know it doesn't really do a whole lot, it's kind of boring. Let's fancy it up some. So its function is to just get this thing immediately spinning to the max, right? That's great. Let's make that thing spin. Make it so pressing right click is like activating double tap for Rom, triple tap even, for the short duration that it would normally not be consuming ammo. In fact, take away the ability to not consume ammo because I want to see that ammo count go down so fast. But that's not all. I want his Gatling gun to spin so fast that it actually becomes a melee meat grinder. So as well as just spitting out a ton of damage for a short time, it also becomes a terrifying short-range melee attack, shoving it in their eyeballs and rearranging their faces type shit. Be sick. Alrighty, I've once again run out of ideas, so I must once again call upon my beloved and bring about the sequel of Girlfriend Help Time, Girlfriend Help Time 2. She's going to be helping me with thinking up pretty much the rest of all the talents. Let's get it. Let's go. Let's do it. Willow's, I think, always had the talent Scorn since the dawn of talents, and I could be totally wrong, but I don't think it's ever been good, and certainly not the popular pick. I've literally never used it, I'm pretty sure. It's just boring. Let's make a better one. Your seedling is a grenade, but it's not a grenade, right? You might say it is an alien grenade. We already gave, who is it, Strix, some generic different grenade abilities. So let's give Willow's seedlings what's kind of become a generic alien grenade property, I guess. Her seedling is now sticky. If stuck on someone, it'll guarantee they have to take the first explosion, and the subsequent bombs can stick on others as well. As well as, I think, if the enemy walks on the bombs, I think they should stick on them too. So if the person you stuck it on initially gets exploded, they're probably going to walk on another and have to take another explosion. That's fair, right? Not going to be annoying at all? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, we're in the home stretch here. I'm gonna stop pretending I'm passionate about these like last 5. So it's lightning round time. Let's get this over with. Rock's totems are mildly unique to him, and aesthetically they are goofy, like him. Let's make them goofier. Totems now decrease allies' gravity significantly. Everyone's gonna be flying around like fucking Drogoz. As a bonus, it will also increase enemy gravity within its totem. So basically, no jumping at all, and for good measure, throw a cripple in there too. Koga's F is kinda interesting. It's one of the only abilities that's just like a straight up stat buff for a little bit. Kind of boring, but also kind of cool in its simplicity. I don't know. And you know what? I'm gonna leave this talent's alteration up to the game itself. Whatever's the highest speed multiplier possible in custom games, that's how fast his F ability now makes him. And if my memory serves correctly, that's a lot. He's gonna be absolutely flying out there. Corvus's ultimate is big booty butt cheeks and boring, so let's make it fun. Make it so whoever's caught in the initial circle as soon as his form is teleported to a random platform in the abyss, Final Destination style, for a forced 1v1, or I guess 1v2 or whatever. When one side or team or whatever wins, they are rewarded with the privilege of being teleported back to the actual game. If there's only one person who ends up being teleported, they get to enjoy a relaxing little abyss timeout for, let's say, 5 seconds. For God's sake, just let Ruckus do the Diva Hulk type thing already. When Ruckus and Bolt dies, let the Bolt portion of Ruckus explode and let Ruckus himself hop out of his mech and run around like a little bitch. Give him a little jump grab ability, I imagine like Smash Dekong side B, that he can use to either do some damage and then die, or instead to run away and camp and then eventually build his mech back or something like that. I don't know, Ruckus was hard. This is fine. For Khan, my throat is hurting. Sorry. Thanks, Khan. I blame you specifically. Just get his normal mobility ability to be a nerf version of his ult. Let him be able to choose where to huck the boys that he grabs, as well as the usual. Let him be able to use them as projectiles. That is my favorite part about his ult for some reason. It's just funny. I like it. Make him do it more. And now for Grover. For this, I've invited someone very prestigious on. One of the top Grover players and someone I know personally. One of the most prestigious healers out there as long as you remind him to heal. You know who I'm talking about. Everybody, please welcome Horse Nebula.
You get to like cross your biceps in front of you and like kind of pump them out your t-shirt sleeves.
What are you talking about?
You know, kind of lean forward. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I have a question for you.
Oh, okay. Second, let me get my buds in.
Okay.
Wow, you're loud.
Yeah.
All right. Yes,
Do you remember Paladins?
I do. We were just talking about it.
Yeah, we were. Do you remember Grover?
Stop hearing people close to me, you freaking weirdo.
Answer the question.
I remember it.
Do you remember what talents are?
No.
No. Do you remember when you'd pick a loadout and you had to pick something before that? It was like called a legendary card or something?
Oh, loadout, you mean?
Yeah, no, before the loadouts.
Oh.
Do you remember that at all?
Oh, kind of. Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
you
I do,
remember you
yes.
picked ferocity. It made your shots do more damage the longer that you threw them on. Or threw them for, rather.
Yes.
Yeah, remember? And there was a couple other talents that would like make you heal more
Hold
or
on,
do
hold
whatever.
on. Calling me.
Oh.
Call me. What?
So do you remember talents at all? At all?
I
Potentially?
can't look at you. Okay.
I need you.
I remember.
I need you to come up with a talent for Grover, because you know him better than anyone.
To heal people?
Just anything. Just anything you might randomly
Yeah.
want Grover to do. It doesn't matter what. Make it as wacky as possible. Or as convoluted.
Oh, what do I want?
Or stupid. Just what
Okay.
you know
if you
Grover
could
the
have
most.
any talent,
Yeah.
what would you do for Grover? What would you like?
Oh,
You just do
I get it
anything.
now. I wish you could rip people in half.
How so? Go into a bit more detail.
Well,
yeah,
just,
like how?
just grab them by the legs and just
Mhm.
like then grab them by just underneath their shoulders and their armpits kind of and go like
Yeah.
and rip them in half.
Is that an ability or is that his ultimate or what's the
Oh yeah, you know
replace
what,
his
like,
healing with just killing
well,
people more? Uh-huh.
he like swings out his you know when he his like dash thing is to flip out that cord and pull himself.
Yeah, yeah,
How
yeah.
about he instead grabs
guys hear
someone,
me?
pulls it towards
Yeah.
him, and holds him by
Hear
the
me?
feet, and then grabs under his armpits and rips him in half.
So if he latches onto
Instant.
somebody, he murders them.
Instantly.
Yeah.
Can you think of a name for this talent?
Rip it in half or something.
Sexy.
Rip the Ripper. Jack the
The
Ripper.
Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
What
Got
my
it.
face look like.
Awesome,
I'm a
thanks.
smiling face.
And then finally, the last character. Moji. I said I'd come back to her, but you know what? I'm tired. I'm sitting here for free thinking of all this crap. Why should I have all the fun? Let's make this into a little engagement farming thing. Give me your best wacky ideas for Moji in the comments. Hell, give me unhinged ideas for any champion that you think would be funny or just kind of cool. Maybe if the video does well and I get some cool ideas in the comments, maybe I'll make another part or something and I'll feature a few that I think are fun. Who knows? In the meantime, that's all I got for now. This whole video has really been jogging my memory on the whole history of talents in general, and I have had the idea for a long time to make a sort of history of random Paladins topics video, like talents and whatnot. And for a large large part of making this video. I honestly just really wanted to make a history of talents video, so that's what I'm going to do, especially considering the recent state of Paladins. I figure it'd probably be good to start easing into making some more archival content about the game that I've actually been wanting to make for years now. Speaking of which, I'm not going to be making like a main video on the state of Paladins or whatever and what I'm thinking about doing with the channel here. I do though have some thoughts that I suppose this is as good a time as ever to get out. Like, I'm going to be heartfelt for a second, like take a picture. I'm not good at it, but I am sad. Like, the prospect that the game won't be around forever, that the recent news kind of reminded us of, really hurts to think about quite badly. It feels like the recent statements and whatever has kind of cemented that idea to us, and that sucks. Like, that really sucks. I've been consistently in the game for the past 8 years. By the end of this year, it'll be 9 years, so, you know, believe me when I say that. It really does suck. But, you know, that's okay. For everyone's personal thing they have to deal with, and I do really sympathize with you if you're, you know, feeling something similar to that. The thing is, I guess I have a problem with currently is it seems just so weirdly, I guess, sensationalized right now, or at least while I'm writing this. I really don't like that word, but I'm using it anyway. Okay, from my perspective, being an oldie, people have been saying since 2019 at least, no doubt earlier, 2018, 2017 probably, keep in mind this game came out in 2015, that this game was dead, right? They've been just consistently saying it for freaking ever, for simply self-serving reasons. You know, it's easier to be negative about everything, and just being extraordinarily cynical about the concept for many years now. As a result, I've become cynical to that notion, especially since it kind of feels like those are the same folks who made the community pretty inhospitable for me by being ultra negative, which is just something I just can't handle very well. Not to mention actively driving out like new players and like telling them to go play other games because this one sucks. It's like that was a pretty common sentiment for a pretty long time that I just kept hearing everywhere. And it really did actively cause people to stop playing the game. And not only stop, but essentially just not let new characters get away with playing the game without hearing so much negativity. It was crazy. And like, I know this might ruffle a few feathers, but like, damn, for someone who's been in the game forever, like, ugh, it was just overwhelming and actively caused me to enjoy the game less, which I'm still pissed off about, in case you couldn't tell. Like, I don't know the inner workings of these kind of things, but like, no wonder some random CEOs looked at the game and was like, yeah, bro, no one likes this shit. Let's cut it off. Not to mention, as soon as the layoffs hit, it just feels like all the same negative folks suddenly started saying this whole Paladins deserve better thing, and then just immediately started having their whole post-mortem doomer pity parties. Like, man, I appreciate the love poured out now, but where were you when the community was bullying new players to play something else, you know? Like, that shit just sits in my head rent-free. Like, I know I'm totally being a bit naive about everything and how the game works and the inner workings of it all, but I'm just so cynical to the negativity of it all, man. It's just so upsetting. I think I've been more distressed about the community itself than the actual news overall, you know? Like, I've adored this game for so long, and I've never needed anything crazy to get me to keep playing and loving it, right? I think through all the wacky decisions and updates that they've made and then rectified later, I've felt tons of passion from the devs, whether that be those who have worked on it for just a little bit or long-time devs. I don't know. Like, I don't personally know any devs, but I have felt it through the game itself that there was a lot of passion behind it somewhere, despite the fact that a lot of people will tell you otherwise. So I figured I'd put a little bit of defense, little stick up a little bit for them, you know? But yeah, my perspective will not only be appreciating that and the development itself, despite the shortcomings that I'm sure exist that I'm not always aware of, but also just that I've like enjoyed the game for the past decade almost. Like, I've always enjoyed the game, and I will enjoy the game for as long as the game is around, for as long as I am allowed to. That's just how it is. I think it's a pretty good attitude to have, and I do urge you to challenge yourself to have something similar there. I know I'm not a fucking role model, but I do for sure challenge you to give it a try. I know I'm being a bit preachy, but fuck me, I guess. Plus, I mean, I'll probably continue enjoying the game by making content after it's gone. Beats me how long I'll do that for, but I almost guarantee my passion for the game will likely outlive the game itself, which is an equally sad thing to realize as well. Again, I don't mean to ruffle any feathers, like I said. I really don't. I mean, I'm pretty small. I'm not going to be able to anyway. But yeah, that's also why I'm putting it at the end of this video as opposed to making a whole ass dramatic kind of solo video with the whole Paladins dead question mark in the thumbnail or whatever. Maybe one day. So yeah, that being said, I will absolutely continue making videos for the game. Archival stuff and the Skin Tier List series will be my focuses for the time being. Always wanted to make videos on the history of all the maps, game modes, aforementioned talents, even characters and stuff. Maybe almost out of paranoia that the game might just disappear at some point, but yeah. So that's everything, I guess. I know I'm kind of going against the grain. Sorry about that. I'm not targeting anyone, just a little disappointed with the community at large. Not that I did much better, I suppose, but yeah. Either way, expect a History of Talents vid to come out soon. I'm really stoked about that. In the meantime, thank you for watching, especially this whole tirade at the end. Have a lovely day, evening, afternoon, or morning, and I'll see you around. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.